Hi, and welcome to another video tutorial. In this video tutorial I'm going to be talking to you about the principles of operation of secondary storage devices. So let's start then by looking at what secondary storage devices we need to know about. So we need to know about magnetic hard drives, optical disks and solid state hard drives. Now we don't necessarily need to know about these in any great detail, we just need to know in principle how they work. So let's look at magnetic hard drives then. So if you go to a shop and you buy a magnetic hard drive, you will get a box that looks probably not at all like this because my drawing's terrible. And inside it will be a large circular plate called a platter. So probably not at all like that because it will be actually a circle, but you get the idea. And that platter is divided into thousands or even millions of tiny areas. Okay, so and each one of these areas can be independently magnetized or demagnetized, and when when one of these tiny areas is magnetized, the area stores a binary 1, and when it's demagnetized, the area stores a binary 0. Okay, so just to recap what we've done so far, there is a platter inside the hard drive which is divided into thousands or millions of tiny areas. So this is my really badly drawn platter inside my hard drive. Each of these tiny areas can be independently magnetized or demagnetized. When an area is magnetized, the area stores a binary 1, and when an area is demagnetized, it stores a binary 0. So there'll be a read-write head that reads the data and writes the data, so it can tell whether an area is magnetized or demagnetized, and thus whether it's representing a 1 or a 0. And it can magnetize or demagnetize areas on the platter. And because magnetism doesn't depend on the device being powered, when the computer is turned off, the data is preserved, which is why it works as a secondary storage device, because it's non-volatile storage. Okay, so let's now take a look at optical disks. So optical disks work by encoding data as pits and lands, and pits are tiny indentations in the disk's surface, and the spaces between the pits are called lands. In order to read data stored on an optical disc, a laser inside a disk drive is passed over the disc. And depending on whether the laser is passing over a pit or a land, the laser is either reflected or not reflected, and this determines whether the reader interprets the bit as a binary 0 or a 1. The pits on the disc represent a binary value of 0 due to the fact that when the laser from the optical disc reader passes over them, it isn't reflected. When the laser passes over a land, then it is reflected, so lands represent a binary value of 1. Okay, so that's the basics of how an optical disc stores data. Okay, moving on then, let's talk about solid state hard drives. So at GCSE, you don't need to know how a solid state disk works in very much detail. What you do need to know is that an SSD uses electrical circuits, i.e. with logic gates, to persistently store data. Two main components of an SSD are a controller and a memory unit, and NAND flash is the most common type of memory used in SSDs today. Okay, so that's all you need to know about SSDs at GCSE level, not any great detail at all. If you want to learn more about SSDs, you can watch my A-level and A-level tutorials on the operation of secondary storage devices. That brings us to the end of this tutorial video. Thanks for watching.